Hey, hi, good morning, good evening for you guys. For technical reasons, we decided to do this ahead of time and pre-record. My name is Robin. I'm here to introduce you to and to share my passion for QiGong, which is an ancient Chinese practice of movement and meditation combined. This morning I'm wearing a shirt which says in Chinese characters, Ocean of Compassion. And that's something I really think that the human race could be doing with more of at this time, being as we're approaching 8 billion people on this planet, coming from all kinds of different backgrounds and philosophies and ideas. This shirt I'm wearing, Ocean of Compassion, I obtained in 2002 at a 2-week retreat in Gold Beach, Oregon, run by Chungliang Huang. Actually, in Chinese, his name should be Huang Chungliang. And I first met him in 1979 in London, England at the East-West Centre. And that was my introduction to an opening into the world of Tai Chi and Qigong. So Chungliang Huang has been a great inspiration to me through all these years. And although my contact with him hasn't been constant, he has remained a mentor for me through all this time and an inspiration. This morning, I'd like to take you through introduce you to some of the fundamental principles, and hopefully we can make that fun. But before we get into that, I'd like to express my thanks to the founders of Neruda Arts and Kultun Festival, who have done so much to bring amazing music from all around the world and to foster an atmosphere of multiculturalism and community. And we are so blessed to have them based here in Kitchener, Ontario. So again, my name is Robin Grant. I'm a massage therapist and shiatsu therapist, and I also teach Taiji Chi Kung, which is what we're going to be focusing on today. So I'll take you through some of the fundamental principles, and then we'll do some warm-ups, and then we can have an interactive follow-along session doing the form together. Okay, so let's get started. So amazing to be here in Victoria Park on the island. I used to come here 10 years or so ago, and about 6 in the morning when the weather permitted, this being Canada, I'd have to wait till it warmed up. And I would practice here, and swans swimming by, and geese flying in, and ducks and squirrels, and anyway, so beautiful. First thing about Qigong is that it's really about getting out of the head and coming to our senses, to coming into a more complete sense of our entire being. So some of the basic principles, we have plenty of inspiration here. When we're standing in Qigong, we want the feet to be shoulder width or hip width apart, toes pointing forward, and soften the knees. And then I like to use the image of a tree. And again, plenty of inspiration for that here. Trees root down into the ground, and at the same time they're growing up into the sky. So if we soften the knees, we can register the weight of the body through the feet, and almost feel like we have roots sprouting down into the ground to stabilize the trunk and to draw energy from the earth to assist the growth of the tree. At the same time, the tree is growing upwards towards sunlight, and long spine, long through the back of the neck. And so we're light in the upper body, but grounded through the lower body. Then the arms become like the branches of the tree, and we can branch out and open up to embrace more of life and to basically claim our space in the forest, to affirm our right to exist, and to be open and open-hearted. So Qigong differs from most Western styles of movement in that it is referred to as internal art, an internal art. It's moving the body as a whole from the inside out, rather than Western style of working on the structure and the muscles and dividing everything up and having exercises for every different function, and the idea of no pain, no gain. Qigong is different. Qigong would be the yin to the Western yang, and both, I believe, are necessary. I'm not saying it's wrong to go and work out at the gym, but this is a kind of a working in, and it combines movement with meditation. So the process of approaching Qigong would be, first of all, to really register the body. And every single joint in the body is referred to as an energy gate, and having the potential to either inhibit or to enhance the flow of what the Chinese would refer to as qi, which you can think of in the body as oxygen moved by the blood. So if the joints are open and the body is relaxed, then the energy will flow more freely. And that includes, that energy is the energy of oxygen reaching all the cells and tissues of the body and the internal organs and the brain too, and energizing the spine so that everything basically works together and we work as a unified whole. It's a practice of remembering, in the sense of putting ourselves back together into this unified whole. And in essence, it's a simple practice. We humans like to complicate things, and we like to know, and we say to understand, but we seldom actually stand under, having the humility to stand under and really receive life and to be. We're very often, until recent times, we have been very much caught up being, or as human doings rather than being. So that's what Qigong is about. It's an ancient practice related to Tai Chi. There are many different forms. This particular form that we're working with today is Taiji Chi Kung, and shares many of the same principles and the movements themselves. It takes less space. You basically, for Qigong, you just need enough space to swing your arms, and even if you can't be outside in circumstances like this, in beautiful sunshine and trees and water and birds flying by and all of that kind of thing, you can still use the imaging power of your mind to create that internally. So basically, find a space where you can swing your arms. That's really all you need. Root down through the feet, soften the knees. This is very important. Pelvic tilt, so you're tucking your tail under and coming into a natural alignment, as if you were suspended from the crown of the head, then everything would naturally fall into alignment with gravity. And so we work with gravity rather than against it. So Qigong is based on Taoist principles and fundamentally based on the idea of yin and yang, one light and dark, warmth and cold, all the opposites, but recognizing that those opposites are not separate, are joined and are constantly in motion. This actually is an acupressure foot mat. It's really great for stimulating the soles of the feet, and I think that we need that to get us more in touch with ground. People talk about earthing these days. Anyway, I'm just going to place that in front. So, back to the basic stance. When we're standing, we connect to the earth, we soften the knees, tuck the tail under, come into this alignment with gravity. Internally, there are three main energy centers that we focus on, which are similar to the idea of chakras or chakras in certain yoga systems. And in fact, Qigong could be described as Taoist yoga. The meaning of yoga being to yoke together. So the same idea, remembering, putting back together all the aspects of our energy into the unified whole that we actually are, but are seldom living in practice. So the main energy center, and these three centers are referred to as Dan Tian. This is the lower Dan Tian in the belly. And Dan has the meaning of something like an elixir, a magical fluid energy. And Tian means a field, and that could be a farmer's field, but in this case, a reservoir, a field of energy. And this is our physical center of gravity. You might visualize it as a sphere that is internal between the inner surface of the spine and the inner wall of the abdomen, and is able to move freely in every direction. And we move from our center and radiate outwards. So the lower dantian is representing our physicality. Middle dantian is equivalent to the heart chakra, is representative of our feelings. And the upper dantian would be the brow chakra, or third eye, sky eye, sometimes referred to in Chinese. And so this is about aligning all three energy centers, being in touch with our physicality, being in touch with ground, being in touch with our feelings, being in touch with our intellect, but balancing the hemispheres of the brain, and also recognizing that we extend beyond the physical limits of our being. And we open up and extend outwards, and therefore circulate our chi within and around and out into the world. So it's a big subject. So in this brief introduction, we'll just focus on these basics and a few of the simple movements. And first of all, we'll do a little bit of joint opening. So the energy gates, every single joint having the potential to either inhibit or enhance. Most importantly here in the chest. For people who are sitting in front of computers a lot of the time, or driving, or sitting on the couch, moving from couch to car to computer, and any combination of these, we're often holding a lot of tension up here and squishing when we're sitting. The organs really don't like that. And so we're restricting the space that the heart and lungs have to do their work, which is to circulate blood, carrying oxygen to every cell in the body. So really we want to encourage openness in the chest. And of course openness, in being open, we become vulnerable. But if we're really grounded and present and fully current, fully embodied, then there's a power in that. So this upper chest area is relating to breathing, to circulation, and also to heart function. And also there's a high concentration of this is both sides of the body I'm referring to here. There's a high concentration of lymph ducts. Now the lymphatic system has no motive force of its own. It requires free movement. So if there's a lot of tension here, which translates to tension in the back and in the neck, then we're inhibiting and allowing our chi to stagnate. And we're really starving the body of its basic fuel. So we really want to get moving. So one way we can do that is keeping our root connection to ground is just to shake out. And become aware of the fingers, loosening the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders. Take the movement down through the spine, loosening each vertebra as you go down into the lumbar and into the sacrum, and down through the legs and into ground through the feet. Yay! So much tension is unconsciously held in the body, and we get used to it. We're not that different from computers, We need to defrag our hard disk or do clean disk on a regular basis. So that's what this is, really. So back to this upper chest area. We can just bring a hand here and encourage this area to soften and to move the shoulder. We really want this to be open so that there's a flow down through the arms, but also down through the entire body. I mean, it's most important and obvious here, the connection to the heart and lungs. In terms of the acupuncture meridian system, the meridian pathways that relate to breathing, to circulation, and to heart function, pass from this upper chest area down the inside of the arm into the hand. There are other pathways coming up the outside of the arm and around the shoulder. And what we can do is tap to enliven. Good morning, geese. And when I'm tapping here, I'm using a cupped hand rather than slapping with a flap, which would just bring blood to the surface but not really fully penetrate. So paying attention to really getting the energy moving. And especially the underside, the side of the torso and the underside of the arm, which relates to the heart. And often this doesn't get a great deal of stimulation. And then we can brush, and the brushing helps to connect. And just notice the sensations, and probably very different sensation when you brush from the armpit down the underside of the arm to the little finger. Shake out. And then of course do the same thing to the other side. Encourage movement of the shoulder. Already this feels good. I'm sure, I hope that you can feel already more engaged with your body. And so, again, tapping. And it doesn't really matter which direction you're tapping in, because the aim is, the body knows how to flow chi if you just get in touch with it. And then of course, there's the neck. So we can do a little shoulder and neck loosening. Just, this is self-shiatsu. Show that from the side, and the back. And then if we anchor the shoulders and engage the neck, this will protect the neck as we rotate. This particular movement is called 10 dragons running through the forest. In some cases that might be running through the plains. Thyroid. Thymus gland here in the upper chest. We can tap here. This will stimulate our immune system. The thymus, when we're children, this is quite a large gland. As we mature, it begins to shrink. So it really needs all the help it can get. So by tapping, we become more aware and we stimulate its function. So if we interlace the thumbs and index fingers and just rub, some would say clockwise around the belly, but in any case, up the right side, across, and down the left side of the body. Quite firm brushing in the direction of our digestive system. So this is the ascending colon, the transverse colon, descending colon. So we're just helping to move food through, help our digestive system, and get in touch with our core. Everything that has a front has a back, so it's also very, very good to pay attention to the kidney area in the back. And then to do the same kind of thing that we did with the upper body down the legs. So then we come to the core itself, and we can use a hula hoop kind of motion here, anchoring our hands at the top of the iliac crest, or giving support anywhere where it feels like it's needed. That might be in the low back and sacrum. So imagine your pelvis as a bowl, and think of rolling a ball around the inside of the bowl. Start with the bowl being quite small and then expand it. And just move in circles, widening the circles outwards. Keeping the knees soft. And then do that in both directions. Again, don't push anything. You never really want to push yourself in QiGong to a place that might harm you in any way. If you have an injury, then find ways to work around. Don't do anything that might exacerbate an existing issue. And then we can do a simple turn. So keeping the head level, the nose in line with the belly button, just turning the upper body and keeping the pelvis and the legs and feet rooted. You're really working the waist here. The intention is not to swing the arms, but to move in a circular way so that the arms pendulum. Also keep the vision soft but open so that you're not tracking your vision around, your eyes around, and creating dizziness. The focus is internal. Allow that to subside. Variations on that are striking the upper part of the chest and the lower part of the back where the kidneys are, stimulating by like so. We can also step back. Whenever we're stepping backwards or forwards or to the side in QiGong, paying attention to keeping that width of stance so that you don't end up with one foot behind the other and being unstable. So taking that stance, shoulder width or hip width, stepping backwards and turning the rear foot outward. Now in your case it might be stepping forward depending where you are in space. And then we can do the same thing. So in movement we're really moving the center in a horizontal plane and everything else follows that. We're not bobbing up and down. Again, the moving back and forward helps to pendulum the arms. Swinging the arms in the opposite direction. That can be a little bit of brain gym. And then switching legs. You can come back to neutral and then step backwards or forward depending where you are. Again, pay attention to the width of your stance and just move your center. Don't know if you noticed that little switch of direction, etc. And then also, of course, the legs and feet, and we can geese, flock of geese flying in. It's absolutely beautiful here. I wish you could see that. So, rotating, opening the joints, moving the toes even, ankles. The knee shouldn't rotate. You're in trouble if the knee does rotate. It's a hinge joint. rotation through the hip. Now, if you need to hold on to something, that's totally fine. It's just the movement aspect that's important. Same thing on the other side. Shake out. Release tension. Okay, so the movements themselves. I mean, this is all QiGong. It's really, Qi is the vital life energy. Gong refers to cultivation, acquiring skill in working with what the Chinese refer to as Qi, life energy. You know, as in Star Wars, the Force. So, simple movement to help us to breathe with the whole body rather than breathing with the upper chest. Simply bring your hands palm up at the level of the pelvis. And breathing in and out through the nose. I should talk about breathing in this way. Ideally, we breathe in and out through the nose, and the easy way to remember this is nose is for breathing, mouth is for eating. Okay, so touch the tongue to the upper palate behind the front teeth. And that's a way of closing a circuit. There's, in acupuncture meridian system, there's conception vessel, running up the midline of the front of the body up to here, and in the back of the body from the perineum up through the center of the spine over the crown of the head, joining together with that. So it's kind of like completing a circuit. So we breathe in and out. If saliva accumulates, then just swallow. So palms upward, breathing in through the nose. The arms float up, but at the same time we're pushing into ground, so that helps. That downward push helps the upward lift. And then the palms turn and sink down. It might be helpful to mix metaphors here and think of being in water and floating and then sinking. So we want to connect this to our breathing. So basic principle, upward and outward movements tend to be in-breath because we open the body. In and then sinking and contracting our out-breath. So breathing in through the nose, breathing out. So if you practice nothing else but that, until you have a sense of connection between this external movement and the internal movement of your breath, the aim here is to fill the lungs from the base of the lungs to the top, and then to empty from the top down. So that's a really simple image, is fill and empty. And then we can carry that into other movements. So, for instance, there's a movement which is simply called opening the chest. And that chest is our chest, but it's really an opening of a treasure chest, because when we open that, then we engage with life more. So breathe in, breathe out. Rise, open, close, sink. Etc. And you could, of course, continue with that one movement. Okay, continuing. Another movement. This one is called separating clouds. So you cross over the wrists, rise up the midline, palms outward, and coming down. So it's a circular movement. It doesn't have to be, you can stretch if you want, it doesn't have to be. Symbolically, it's clearing away the clouds in the sky. It's beautiful here now, there's no clouds, beautiful. But this is also referring to clouds in the mind. So it has a clearing effect. So clearing the mind, clearing our spirit. So inhale, exhale. Two more. I've often heard people say, oh, it's too slow. I can never do that. But this is a form of, it's a meditation as well as movement. You know, the mind doesn't want to do that. It doesn't want to meditate. So you kind of have to trick it. So if you can encourage yourself to just do a couple of minutes, to come back into your body and then to open up from there. Once you've actually arrived and are more connected to the body, then the mind is included in that, not completely cut off and thrown away. So then it might actually recognize the benefit of this practice. But essentially on its own, it's here and not connected to ground. So this is, again, referring to remembering, reminding the body, and in so doing, becoming and getting current. So entering a flow state and becoming more fully present, more engaged, and more embodied. So that's what these movements, I truly believe that the breath is the linking force between mind and body. And when we engage all of ourselves, everything goes better. You know, they used to say that with Coca-Cola, but this is way better than Coca-Cola. Okay, so we have simple raise and lower the hands. Not difficult to remember. Raise and lower the hands. Breathe to relax. Smile. And then open the chest. And then we have separating clouds. So another movement from the form that I practice is called scoop the ocean, reach up, touch the sky. So we move to the side, maintain that hip or shoulder width stance, and bending from the waist and hip without strain, keeping the hara, the abdomen, power center open and not squishing it over the front leg. Scoop down as if you're scooping into an ocean. Reach up, touch the sky. And then imagine that water that you've gathered with your hands flowing down through the body and returning to the ocean. And then there are two more components to this. I think of this movement as being three parts. Scoop the ocean, reach up, touch the sky. Let that cascade down the front of the body. And then become a wave and roll forward like a wave. the movement, the motion in Tai Chi and Qigong both is rooted in the feet and coming up through the legs. It is controlled by the waist and expressed through the hands. So this motion of the wave is not a pushing of the upper body separate from the lower body. It's really the entire body rolling forward. And it's not using force through the arms, but the entire body is engaged. So breathe in, breathe out. And then the third component is like a bird opening its wings, gathering, breathe in, breathe out. So if we put those three together, scoop down, reach up, touch the sky. Etc. Another of the nice things about Qigong is that it's much simpler, although it's the same basic principles as in Tai Chi, it's much simpler to learn and fewer movements, and those movements are done with repetitions. So the form I primarily work with has only 18 movements compared to the 108 in the long form of Tai Chi. Also, you need a lot less space with Qigong. With Tai Chi, you're going all over the place. You need a large space. With Qigong, basically you need to root down through your feet, and basically you need enough space to swing your arms. So it's very practical. Qigong can be adapted to anyone. I've taught children, I've taught people in the regular adult population, I've taught athletes, I've taught seniors, even people in wheelchairs, and even sometimes people with very little motor function. I taught in the hospital system in Victoria, BC, in mental health initially, and then it expanded into other areas of the hospital. So this is really what I wanted to communicate today, is just the fundamental simplicity of Qigong and how it can be hopefully easily incorporated, which is a great word because it means to be brought into the body, to incorporate it in our daily life. And if you can do that in just committing to 2 or 5 minutes a day on a regular basis, it is a practice. And it's that coming back, and realizing that this is where we live, and that the future, the past, everything is here now. And the more we're engaged with that, the better. So thanks for tuning in today. I'm happy to have shared this. If you'd like to learn more, I do have classes, or at least I hope to have classes in the very near future. Things have come to a little bit of a hiatus with the COVID pandemic, and hopefully things are going to resume in a more natural way fairly soon. But my details will be on something. So again, thanks to Neruda Arts and to Kotun and to all the people engaged in that, and for all the people who tuned in, some of my friends I think from near and far, thank you, and have a great evening, and try to incorporate some Qigong in your life.